when the bubble eventually happens, the adjustment will happen. It's happened several times in our lifetime, and it will happen. And therefore, if the lenders get stung again, which everyone stings the lenders, they got the money, they're going to get stung, they're going to get sued, they're going to be mandated by the government, they're going to be forgiven, they're going to be taken over, whatever. And then they're going to go, I had harm, and I have all these documents in our database totally signed. What can we do with that? And they're going to go try to recoup their losses, and they will, because they have teeth now. And you went ahead and signed these things because I got to do it. You don't got to do it. That's the point. And anybody telling you you got to do it, you keep asking yourself, why?
What's your opinion of lender questionnaires?
Don't like them.
Don't like them. Are they necessary?
We don't think so, but we're not lawyers.
All right.
We can't say legal advice, but we do see that they are unnecessary in the process and can cause what we see as legal problems. But we're not lawyers, so we can't, but they will cause problems. And when did they come out? When were they really pushed? Was there a year where we started seeing a lot?
Well, I've been with Get Docs since 2011. I definitely saw a pickup in like 2000. I would say 13 is when we started really seeing more custom questionnaires or bank specific.
Why do you think? Why do you think?
I think it's because it was the fallout of the 2008 bubble. I think what happened was a lot of the foreclosures, and so a lot of the mortgage companies didn't get the money they thought they should get.
They got stung. They got stung. They lost a lot of money.
So, like for example, our headquarters here is in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Nevada is a super priority state. So basically, when a house went into foreclosure, the association had the super priority, so they got paid before the mortgage company did, and mortgage companies didn't care for that, so they lost, whatever they lost during that time. And I think as a result of that happened, then we started seeing those changes coming about a few years later.
I'm going to say I think there's a strategy. I think there's an overall strategy. I think the lenders have a lot of money to have a battery of lawyers that they pay salaries to, that come up with innovative, hey, if this ever happens again, you need to have this kind of stance. And if you can get that industry, which is so scattered, really, it's hard to find them, small business, really, and mom and pop, and but they're going to try to facilitate the deal. So they tell them, oh, it won't close if you don't do this, and we need you to sign it. And when you read the fine print, I wouldn't sign that. Because why would they want you to sign on some of these questions? I'm getting far from my question.
Yeah.
From some way I see some of these questions, why would you ask the question unless you're trying to set someone up to protect yourself? And your lawyers put that document together, and then they're saying, well, you got to do it or the deal falls through.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, the scary thing is, like you mentioned, the type of questions that are on there. I met with an attorney. I met with an attorney a couple of years ago, and we were talking specifically about this topic. And he was looking at one of the questionnaires, and he said, if I was to complete this as an attorney for an association, I would spend more than 50 hours doing all the research in order to answer these questions, because there's so much legal opinion. And the thing that really drove him crazy was annexation and phasing. The question was, is it subject to further annexation or phasing? He's like, that is a legal question, and in order to answer that, I have to go to the records. I have to go, I don't know if it was like the county records or the original, building records to find out what the annexation. He's like, this is crazy.
Percentage of rental. Yeah, Who cares? But how do you keep? That's so much work. Why do you care to do that? You're not doing anything for the owner.
The thing is, these are questions that the lawyer's saying. These are questions that management companies should never be answering. Their attorneys should be answering it. And then you have a question, like you said, like the rental percentage. Every management company I've talked to, they don't know the rental percentage. So, and the lender questionnaires, they know that. So what do they ask? Oh, well, what's your offsite addresses? Just because it's an offsite address doesn't mean it's a rental. There's plenty of people that have two residences.
You've got to ask Every question you got to ask, why are they asking this? Here's
Yeah.
what they really should do. Here's what I
Yeah.
think the management company should do. They should tell the lender that to get this done, I'm going to send it to my lawyer. He charges $250 an hour, and I'm going to let him answer it. I'll tell you this: they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But if they did, the lawyer would do unknown, 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 not known, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable. Call me, call me. It would not, and it would be more billable hours, not because they want to, but because these things are so abstract and out of the realm of a manager
Yeah.
that, once again, the owner should be very worried about having managers sign this or the owner sign it. And the thing is, can I ask you this? You're an old insurance guy.
Yeah.
I'm taking a guess. I don't know the answer to this, so this is going to be fun.
Okay.
I hope it's the answer I want. Is there an insurance policy that covers them on this? Does their liability go high enough for what you see the liability on this? Because if real estate falls through and they're doing it like, oh, the deals will fall through, and what's the problem? You're dealing with your sellers, not the buyer coming in yet as a seller.
Right. I'm going to say that in most cases, I don't think that a management company would have insurance to cover this. If the management company answered it, if they had a board member do it, then their D&O coverage would probably cover that, right?
Should they have their board members do it? Should the board members do that?
Okay, so
would the board members want to do that?
So we went to you and I don't know if you remember this.
That's a great solution, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I went to CACM law seminar. I think it was like 2016 or something like that, and they were talking about this topic. They had an attorney and they had a management company owner up there, and the solution was when these come in, it needs to be filled out by the board, and by the attorney before it's given to not the person who's buying, but given to the seller who's the member of the association. Right? That's another whole different issue. But yeah, so that's the answer that they had, was it needs to be completed by the attorney and by the board member. And then, by the way, you don't give it to the new resident who's not a resident, not a member of your association. Give it to the current resident who is a member of your association, because that's the person with whom you have a fiduciary liability.
Well, you're not even really mandated to do this for the seller.
No.
The confusion
Absolutely.
to the managers and the management company is, we're facilitating the deal for the seller, the new buyer, which will become, in my mind, I don't see this, but I think they go, well, they'll be an owner, so I'm facilitating them. I don't want to piss them off. The deal is not falling through, and they will not care. I mean,
I think that, I think there might be some of that, and I think a lot of it is just that they're just doing it because they're told this is what you need to do.
And there's nothing that mandates them, so don't do it. Our philosophy is, even if it's, you can make a ton of money. That's what the other guy is saying that's in our industry.
Yeah.
You can make a ton of money. We're set up to do it for you. Charge as much as you want. Well, you think if laws turn around to this and you're getting as much as you want to charge, at some point you're leaning on that money to live, and then something mandates it, because it's not really the right thing to do. It needs to be legislated somehow. But lawyers are behind the... They have a strong lobby, lenders too. And how many different forms do we think are out there for these? Are they just a couple, one or two?
I can tell you that one of our competitors in their advertising says that they have more than 5,000 custom forms that you don't have to fill out. They're filled out automatically.
For lender questionnaires?
For lender questionnaires, yes.
Bewildering. So the only reason why I think I would do that is there's some large amount of money to go get, and there are no laws making anyone do it.
Well,
but there's such a demand of, this barrage comes, I've got to do something because they're relentlessly calling me and I'm so busy. So I put something in place to deal with it. And oh my gosh, you guys have something in place. Oh, and I can make some money too. Well, let's do that. And it's like, you're going down the wrong path, I think. I think you make more money by not doing this at all, because I think it's almost a break-even proposition at the end of the day. What do you think?
Well, I think that, and I've seen this, just so you know, from the lender side, I've seen this in the last week where they just changed the rules because of what happened in Florida with the tower that fell into the sinkhole. So they added some new questions. So they're saying, hey,
that's all liability, man. There's
Yeah,
only one reason to ask that. It's not for seller or buyer. It's
right.
not for seller or buyer. They're doing it for themselves.
For themselves, right? Because they want to make sure they're not making a bad investment, right? So
they don't want to get sued and lose, or like have someone get super priority and then they don't get anything because the market is so bad. And it could happen again.
yeah,
It happened once. It could happen again.
yeah.
And they
So
want to get ready for the next time.
there's all kinds of stuff like that going on, and so is it necessary? I'm going to tell you, I think that loans aren't going to get approved if there's not some sort of a lender questionnaire.
We have normal lender questionnaires that are set up. Aren't there standards?
So yeah, the two standards right now. The two standards right now are the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac and the HUD 9991.
So the lawyers that work, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The lawyers that work for the lender said, there's how we can do it. They have to do those forms. So let's make our own form and just add a bunch of questions. How long are some of them? I've seen 4, 5, 7 pages.
Yeah.
100 questions. 100 questions. Like the same question asked 4 different ways. You got to ask yourself, once again, fear of loss, great motivator. Why? Why do they want to do that? And why would you want to give them that? And when you don't, they can't leverage you to do it. So why do it? The liability for me, once again, I wrap it around the same thing, outweighs the money you can make or the time you put in or even dealing with it to get them out. Just don't take their call. Let them go away. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. That's so. There's only the two standards are those for the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the HUD. By the way, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac is one, HUD is another one, not to be confused. And so if we just boil it down to those two, and really the HUD 9991 is the one that's come out most recently. And that's really, I think, the standard. That's the one that, on the research I've done, Joe, what I've found, what I've read through different lender trade associations is they say that form is what's used to close and sell, by the way, 95% of all loans, whether they're conventional or backed by the government. So, if you can fund a loan and then that loan can be sold because it was met by the HUD 9991 requirements, then why do you need to have on any other forms? You really don't. And no, is that form perfect? No, not at all. But if you only have one form, you can have your attorney review it.
But it's
a lot closer than having different ones.
Is it needed? Is that form by the government? Why would it be? Why is it there? Why do we do it? Is it needed for the transaction, and why? Well, it's government backed, right? The government backs these loans. Did I just answer my question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What? And they're going to have a form, but the government's not going to give you a 10-page form necessarily.
No.
They're just going to do the bare minimum. So in their mind's eye, would you agree with this statement that form is what's needed? That has to be done. That is a requirement. Then if it's required, and they probably don't care how you give it to them as long as they have it. So we augment the form. And as long as those bare minimum questions are maybe the first 4 or 5 questions of our form, I bet you it's that way. And we get them to sign it. The manager has to sign it, and they intimidate them to do it. Then they're covering themselves when you do it. I just keep saying why. And I got to loop back to that why. I don't want to frustrate you, man, but the why behind it is really what we're talking about. We could join our competitors and go, yeah, let's go make money because there's money to be made. We could deal with it. But I think our philosophy of not taking that on, though we think in the short term might be, wow, we're losing out. But in the long term, for our clients, they are protected. We just look away from it and just move down the road. And our clients, we deal with some of the real pushy lenders in specific ways. We do not take away their right to do it. I've seen our site enable it, though we keep going, please don't do it. Please don't do it. But there are some deals that they'll do it because some of these lenders are just relentless. Yeah. They're beyond relentless.
Yeah.
So I know I said a lot. I'll let you kind of.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, it's so much so that I talked with one management company owner who actually was an attorney and just starting a management company. And we had this conversation, and she said to me, I would rather just fill out the custom forms so I don't have to deal with the backlash and the pressure from these lenders. And I said, but you realize the risk? And she said, yeah, I realize the risk. But I'm
and
like,
she's an attorney.
That's crazy.
And she's an attorney.
She's an attorney,
how relentless they are.
Right.
And she's an attorney. Yeah.
That's how pushy the lenders are with, I got to have my form and I got to have it's crazy.
and she knows better because she's an attorney and
Right.
she's still doing it. That
Yeah.
makes the point. And
Yeah.
I say, just don't do it. And I think the people that have our customers that go, yeah, you know what, you're right. They really almost rest easy in a way. They make the money they make on the stuff they can charge and the stuff they put the minimal work in, and it becomes real balance in that part of the business. So they don't have to even think about it. But I don't think there's a law that mandates them to do it. When it happens, we're ready to do it,
Yeah.
but I don't think a law will be mandated to protect the lenders. I don't think people look at
No.
them as they need protecting.
Well,
What needs protecting is the consumer,
until
the
they get their
management company.
lobbyists out there, and then
Oh,
then who knows what can happen with laws. But yeah, so you're right. There are no laws that require filling out any. We tell our clients you should not fill out custom forms at all. What we recommend and what we have available through GetDocs now is we have those two forms just talked about, the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac, and we have the HUD 9991, and those are kept current. When they have a change, we update it, and those are the ones that even they're not perfect, but they're not crazy like some of these lenders, like you said, the 5 and 6 page ones that we see. So we have the solution, but yeah, it's definitely a risk if you're filling those out. And I agree with you. I think I think that it's the lender's way of creating a loophole in case we come back to a bubble like we had in 2008, which is, by the way, a little bit scary right now. I mean, the marketplace right now is taken off. It's been crazy, right?
really?
The
You
real
want to take
estate
two
market's been
seconds and
crazy.
talk about real estate? Would you sell your house if you owned it right now? You could, and make the most money right now. What does that sound like to you?
It
I don't
sounds
think
like
it is.
it sounds
Okay.
like what, I'm hearing the same stories I heard in
Don't say the
2008.
word. What's the word?
Bubble. I'm hearing the same things I heard in 2008. Someone last week just told me that their sister, in fact, it's a mutual friend of ours. Their sister's looking for a house, and they every time they go to look at a house, it's on the market 5 minutes. Oh, they already got offers. I mean, crazy.
And I see look. I really don't think it's a total bursting bubble type situation, but it could be a precursor to a couple years from now, or
Yeah.
3 years from now. Market changes, way more inventory goes up. People trying to get that money out will put pressure on the pricing, but that business is a lot of business. And when the bubble eventually happens, it will. The adjustment will happen. It's happened several times
Hmm.
in our lifetime, and it will happen. And therefore, if the lenders get stung again, which everyone stings the lenders, they got the money, they're going to get stung, they're going to get sued, they're going to be mandated by the government, they're going to be forgiven, they're going to be taken over, whatever. And then they're going to go, I had harm and I have all these documents in our database totally signed. What can we do with that? And they're going to go try to recoup their losses, and they will, because they have
Yes.
teeth now. And you went ahead and signed these things because I got to do it. You don't got to do it. That's the point. And anybody telling you got to do it, you keep asking yourself, why? Why does the money seem so good? Why do I get pressure to do it? Why do they push so hard? And there's no law we can find that says, oh, right there's why. That'll answer the why. Oh, I got to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
now I got to do it, dude. I'm sorry. I really feel like that's my theme today. Like I really feel passionate about that, and I would love owners to really like even gab with us about this. No pressure to sign up, but just like
Right.
a curious discussion about picking our brains. Like, why do you think that way? I'm with your competitor. I'm with your competitor right now. I saw your video. I never thought about it this way. Talk to us. We're not trying to get the business right now, but we're
Right.
not trying to get the business, right? But it's something that if we could talk to you, I think your cautious, legal minded, do the right thing mind will take over. And looking at the money that they're selling, telling you could do this and you could make this money, and it's all focused on the money, and it's not worth, but it's really not worth it in the end when they find a way to get to you and sue you and you don't have coverage for it. Then it's like, why? And what are you exposing your HOAs to anything? Do you think, now we may edit this out, right? But
Yeah,
do
no,
you
I think
expose,
you are exposing your HOAs to a loss because
are you really?
when
Because we're not, once
yeah.
again, we are not lawyers. And I think we need to talk to lawyers right now, really. Maybe even bring a lawyer on to like,
Okay,
you know,
so here would be
talk
my
about this.
question. Here would be my question to the lawyer. right? If what the reason that an association closes or a management company is not foreclosing, it's the association that's foreclosing. The management company is just going through the process, right? Because they didn't pay the dues. So if someone doesn't pay their dues, that's the association dues that they didn't pay. So when there's a loss, so let's say the homeowner owes that association money, so that's who's getting hurt in the long run if they don't collect that money.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'm talking about, well, I heard association money, and I think
You,
that they're in first position to get their money, but I don't know how really, and we may edit this out once again. I don't know
yeah,
how that works into the lenders get screwed in a sense in the process, right?
right.
And so they're not going to get their money or a portion of their money because of the superposition that the HOA gets. So they'll be pissed off that no. Now, let me ask you this. We may edit this out. I'm saying it on purpose. When the manager signs the document called the lender questionnaire, and it's specific to the lender, are they signing as themselves only, or some of that little small print, does it say anything about the HOA signing as a representative of?
You know what? That's a really good question. It
Is
says
that
that,
specifically in there? My bet is, I'm telling you right now, I'm not a lawyer. We're not lawyers, and I'm definitely not going to I'm going to keep saying that. My thing is, then to me, it's very suspect to, the end result.
so I'm looking at one right here that says it's just as a representative of the association.
Wait, what does it say?
It's the as a representative of the association.
Wait. Is that the first words of the
No,
paragraph
no.
that's small?
I, the undersigned, certify the information above was collected within 90 days and accurately represents information obtained from variable and reliable sources, including condominium association, public records, and independent third parties or other data resources. The information and statement contained in all sections of the questionnaire are true and correct to the best of my
Okay.
knowledge and belief that our required documents have been provided.
All
And
right.
it's
Well, I don't. Oh, go
their
ahead.
name and their uh, it's their name and their signature.
Okay. So it seems as though they signed personally, not necessarily as a representative,
I
which is
think
weird to me.
I think you're right because actually on the same one underneath it there's a warning that says anyone who knowingly submits false claims, makes statements is subject to criminal and civil penalties, including confinement for up to 5 years, fines, civil penalties. So yeah,
Why
so
would you
they're
ever sign anything like that?
yeah,
But it looks like, and I bet you others do include wording. I bet you
yeah.
for the HOA. But I find it interesting that that isn't in there. So uh, I don't know if I'd want to take all that weight on for all the business that goes on in all your HOAs as an owner. Once again, I'm an owner
Yeah.
of Get Docs Now. We work together on this. We're owning this as well. The process is to help our clients, and we just don't see this as helpful to them. And maybe they never sue. Well, really ask yourself, why would they want these questions answered? It doesn't equal anything else, but they want to go after somebody. And I think they think they're going to have teeth to go after the HOA, which if you've got money in the account and accounts are flowing, or you have insurance, they're going to go after that.
Yeah.
And in their mind, rightfully so, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, when they're like, if we see the same thing we saw in 2008, if they're left holding the ball and they're not, they're not able to collect because the association's in front of them, they're going to do everything they can to cut that line.
Yeah. Okay. I think maybe another show might be good to maybe have an attorney, maybe in certain states, talk with us. I don't know if we'll find anyone that will actually maybe take a stance. We
Go on
might
the
find.
record. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't, then we'll talk about that too. Why? Why wouldn't they? Because they want to defend you. They don't want to have an opinion out there. They want to be able to defend you because they also see it. They can make money by defending you.
Yeah.
So why would they want to rock the boat by taking a position? I mean, they hardly give us information to help us secure legality in our system for our clients, who they are fiduciary to. But we can get our clients to talk to them to help us help them. It's a very weird dynamic because they might sue us one day. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, they know where they know where they are at in the business.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. I hope that's good stuff. I mean, I
That's
know
good
we kind of
stuff.
went
And
off a little.
no, that's
Yeah.
good stuff. And you know, you were mentioned earlier as the owner of the management company, you need to know what's going on. You need to ask yourself, why are they asking these questions? And I'm gonna say, if you haven't done it yet, go talk to the people in your office that see those lender questionnaires. Grab a couple of them. Go to talk to your friends or attorneys. Take them to lunch. Ask them what they think. You know, I mean, we gave our opinion, and we've talked to, by the way, we've talked to, Joe and I've talked to several attorneys throughout the country about this topic over the last, I would say, probably 5 to 7 years. We went to that the CACM law seminar that on this specific topic. I've
Felt like we
I've
were
written
with our chief.
articles.
They felt like they were blowing the dog whistle. We totally agreed. It was
Yeah,
like lawyers that are saying what we're saying. I mean, why?
absolutely.
Why would they do that in a small minority?
Right. But what happens? The phone rings, the lender says, "Oh, this deal isn't going to go through if you don't do this." And
How
so
dare you?
the people do it, right? Your people are doing it because they're trying to keep the peace, and they think they're doing the right thing for the resident. It's really up to you as the owner of the company to make that decision. And I
Can
just
can we go off a little bit on a tangent on how our, and we may never use this, how our competitors are facilitating this in such a way that, in fact, they're not even you're not even filling out the forms. Is that something we know for sure how they're
yes.
doing it? And
So
and, and this can be edited out. So
yeah.
in my opinion, I'm gonna cut you off before I let you talk. Sorry. It's uh it's terrible. And I'll let you talk now.
So if we're going to talk about our competitors, we have to really talk about our competitors, okay? So here's the history of resale documents, online
Wow.
resale documents.
You might edit this out.
GetDocs Now started in 1999 with the great idea. Joe and his partner Mitch at the time had a great idea. They started as they were real estate agents and brokers, so they started this concept from the idea of, we want to make business better. We want to make it easier for transactions to flow. Okay, that was 1999. Sold the first package in 2001. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. So then, a mortgage company, let's say a mortgage broker, a guy who was a mortgage broker, who was ordering, as they called them at the time, condo questionnaires or condo certs, was ordering these, asking the management companies to fill them out. He saw what we were doing and said, "Hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to create a company called Condo Certs, and all we're going to do is condo certs," because he's a mortgage guy, and that's all he cared about, was how he could make money from his mortgage brokers, right? His at that time competitors, his other mortgage brokers. Hey, how can I make money off of them in this industry? I'll create condo certs.
We thought it was just documents. As realtors, we only touch documents moved out. We only thought it was documents. That's all we get docs now. That's all we did it for. Get docs now. And when we heard there's condo search, we want to do that too. And then we saw this company, condo search, as we're doing stuff. I
Right.
mean, they were developing as we're putting it in our system because we're like, well, there's that too. We could do that too. We need to help them with this as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was 2004, and then subsequently, a couple years later, that the person that owned that, or people that owned that, sold that company to a bank. They had a non-compete, and then when their non-compete expired, they came back with HomeWise docs. So our two biggest competitors came from the
Our one
mortgage.
biggest competitor.
Right, exactly, and they came from the mortgage broker side. Okay,
Right. Oh, interesting. That's
so
very
their
interesting.
focus has been on the mortgage broker and getting the condo certs and condo questionnaires. That's been their focus from day one, because that's the industry that they came
So
from.
why wouldn't they do everything to facilitate it as a profit center? I think. I don't think they're aiding the lending institutions to try to set it up for whatever liability. They're just making it's a way to make money. It's great in the now. And they would cater to it because of their background, right? Don't
Right.
you think?
Yeah, they made that a priority. So, and realistically, if you look at what are the differences between us and them, that's the main difference. The fundamental difference is we came from the standpoint of facilitating the real estate transaction,
Yes,
and they came from the position of getting the condo questionnaire,
to
the
the
condo
lender
search, right?
to make it
And
easier for the
so,
lender, and we were trying to make it easier for the realtor. Yes,
right,
yes.
right, and well, you were making it easier for realtors and management companies
Managers. Well,
because
that's
you
what
were
we
taking
knew
away
them
the paper
personally. We'd have
process.
to go pick it up and sign everything.
Yeah,
Press hard, cheap carbon. Here's your copy. Here's your red. It was like 100 copies. Here's
right.
your copy. It was like paper intensive. And I think here's a little. I think people when they buy into technology now, it's a faded memory of how we did business with you know like these slow 300 baud phones in this big huge machine. Whoever thinks that, but that's the technology we grew up with before 1999. It was fax machines and paper, and
Right,
we have to embrace this. And then this is the toughest thing, right? Now,
right,
oh, we're so busy still, but we forget, is what I'm saying.
right.
And so now people are using technology to cover their bases and their asses.
Hmm. Yeah. And our focus remains still legal compliance, facilitating the deal, making it as easy as possible for the management company and the title companies to do their transactions. And as a result of that, we're part of the lender questionnaires. It's one of the steps in the process. We help facilitate that with the standard forms, the HUD and the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac, and where our competitors, and this is back to your question, right? The competitors, well, they're still focused on that, and they go, there's this whole marketplace out here where there's 5,000, that's their number, over 5,000 lender questionnaires that we fill out for you. You don't ever have to fill them out again. Okay, so your question was, is that
Why
real?
do they fill them out for them? And why would you sign them and put you're putting yourself in liability position, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer. Um, and then have someone else fill out the information and just sign it.
Yeah,
I don't understand that. I don't get it.
yeah.
And they're doing it because they want the money.
They're doing it because that's a selling point that they're making to get people, because it's such a pain for the management company, like we talked about earlier. The lenders are calling and pressuring them, and it's a lot of the pressure and a lot of the customer service calls that are coming in. And so they say, hey, we're taking care of those. That's a big part of your customer service calls. We're taking care of those. And the management company owner can go, yeah, that's great. You're taking care of that. You're helping us out. But they're not looking at the other side of that as the liability in it. They're not looking at what's the risk. Or they have the attitude like that attorney in Florida that I was telling you that said, hey, that owns a management company. "Yeah, I'm willing to take the risk. Okay, as long as you know the risk is there. I think that's all we're trying to do is bring that risk to light and say you
Yeah.
don't have to do it.
I mean, the other side would fight. There is no risk. Don't worry about it. And that's so it's like, who do you believe? Well, you know, we're going to keep doing business the way we do. I
Yeah,
don't see how we can change like from this, putting it into the universe of internet, and
yeah,
people will know exactly now how we stand on this. And let the chips fall where they may. I mean, people that are electing to make this money, it's great. They really should do that as a business, but they should do it very intelligently. And I'm not saying anything about them. They don't know. And in some instances, this being the second largest cash flow, and that independently could be a runner up, just that
yeah,
within these documents, that could be a runner up. And I see them charging upwards of, I mean, there's no regulation. This is how it's going to come loop around, in my opinion, to kind of bite them in the buttocks, is because there's going to be this amount for something that keeps getting charged by the managers, and we can't, the local legislation, the state is going to want to regulate that, I think.
right.
And so where does this go? Where does it go? Do we want to be all set up and put our resources in for this to be a dead source of income in 5 years? It could be 10 years. So keep making the money, but you keep putting yourself in a liable situation. And I'm not an attorney. So I think for us, we need to do that thing you talked about. Let's find some attorneys that
Yeah,
we know think about like us, and let's make a part two to this, maybe, that talks to the attorney and just exposes you to an attorney that will probably, for that subject, want to comment on the record. Any attorney that won't want to comment on the record is looking at this as a business opportunity in the future. And
Yeah.
I respect that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. It's protecting their position to make, I respect it. But I also think you got to ask why, right?
Yeah.
The common question here is why? Why
Yeah.
are they
Yeah.
positioning themselves here to do this?
Exactly. And, we talk about the risk and, whether you believe it or not. You brought something up earlier that I just want to come right back to for a second. They asked the same question 2 or 3 times on a questionnaire in different ways. Why would they be doing that if they weren't trying to trip you up, that they were trying to find a way that they could come back and go against you? I mean, it's
And that's
crazy.
it. And then why? Okay, even trip you up is what I'm going to focus on.
Okay.
Um, the reason in my mind you ask someone the same question formatted in different ways is to get them to answer one of them differently than the other three. And then the
Correct.
reason why you had them sign, and that little paragraph definitely said any inconsistency, any non-truth, any
Right.
non-truth. Well, that's a non-truth. You're on the stand and they go, well, why did you answer this way? And then, well, that's the answer. Well, really, is it? Because we have other questions that are exactly the same that are different. You are done. You're
Yes.
done. I don't see how you defend. Well, I made a mistake. Well, we asked it 4 times. How do you make a mistake? I mean,
There's
I
only
didn't
one.
understand the question. When you signed it, you understood. And
There's
yeah,
only one reason to do that.
and it's so simple. It's not even based on the information. It's only based on having you just not qualified for that one paragraph above your signature, the fine print, which is
Yeah.
only concerned about truth. And then that's due that. Wait, real quick. I know you're gonna say
No.
that's only at some point that's someone's interpretation of truth. Let's not go off on a tangent on truth, but that's
Okay.
someone's fightable position and their interpretation of truth. That'll cost you 25 grand to defend against. Forget
Yeah.
anything else. That'll be 25 grand. Thank you very much. And it might go up from there just to be right. Just to be right. That I
So
don't have to say I'm not a lawyer. That we can pay as a consumer. We
so
know that's
so
possible.
how about this? This is actually from the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac. Okay. This is a question that can't like literally from an attorney that I talked with about this specific form. This question can actually not be answered. The question is in the event of a lender acquires a unit due to foreclosure or deed in lieu of foreclosure, is the mortgagee responsible for paying delinquent common expense assessments? Yes or no? The attorney said that is absolutely impossible to answer because the way you treat a foreclosure and the way you treat a deed in lieu are different. So you cannot answer this question yes or no. So what we did, Joe, is we came up with disclaimers. So we've added our own as if, and we treated this like if this was a piece of paper on your desk, what would you do if you were going to answer this? You'd write in the answer, correct? So we created that within our system, and we created a default answer that says not answered per attorney's advice. So even though it says yes or no, it prints right behind there, not answered per attorney's advice. That's because why? Now we've answered the question, right? We've fulfilled the obligation of producing the document
In a way,
without adding that liability.
sorry,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry. I thought you were done. In a way, you're already on the stand. You're already defending yourself from the signature, and it's 10 years from now, and they got you.
Yeah.
What did they get you? Nothing. You answer every question the same way per attorney's result, per
Mm-hmm.
attorney's advice, per attorney's advice, and you have fulfilled filling that out. And if you
Yes.
just answered the normal questions on the regular form, you have done everything legally. I'm not a lawyer, that you are obligated to do
You're not
because
obligated to do
these
anything. Yeah.
loans
Yeah.
are backed by the government, the federal government,
Right.
not the local government, not the state government.
Right.
And that's where a lot of these, state and local laws, start regulating the prices
Yeah.
of stuff that, anyway. So in my mind, it's too complicated to try to facilitate. It's too
Absolutely.
it's too abstract. You really can't answer now why. It only unfolds in the future. Why? Why do they put themselves in a position to be able to? Why would you put yourself in a position for that to even happen? So the best way is to answer these questions one way. I'm not obligated to answer this question per attorney's advice. Then you
Right.
push it to your attorney, and if they don't like it, keep referring to your attorney. And list that in the paper. My attorney's name is my attorney's. Now, if they call the attorney, I think the attorney doesn't bill them. So we got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
But you get it? And you make the attorney start being aware of the liability. Now, who's the attorney that's going to be defending you if you get,
Right.
well, they'll be defending the HOA technically, maybe not you.
Right. So this is, I mean, this is an
Very
example of,
interesting.
yeah, this is an example of what we do to allow our clients to fulfill the request for a lender questionnaire, but not increasing their liability. We want to help them work on that, right?
Think
So,
how close we are to the management companies and what they do with the owners. We actually meet the owners in a business transaction to sell their house. We actually work with them hand in hand for these documents. The lenders are a little bit more further removed. They're a little more nationally known. They could do loans, but we are really facilitating the natural flow of owners coming in and owners going out. Lenders facilitate in a different way. I think if anybody gets any heed in this, it's your agents. It's your agents, not your lenders. And ultimately, I agree with this fiduciary because they are my obligation is the sellers. When I take that listing, my fiduciary is as the seller. So when I look at it as when I'm dealing with you, you're dealing with the seller. Because I get, when I take a listing, I get that fee simple. I get the exclusive right to sell the house, which is part of fee simple ownership. Fee
right,
simple ownership has, I get to rent it, I get to use it, I get, within, and then when you get into an HOA, you give up a little bit of your, I get to use it any way I want to because I want my community to go up in value. And I agree with that. I'm a realtor. I agree with that. So to facilitate the things that touch, I'm not going to try to set my manager or HOA up for liability.
right,
Why would the lender that you never see until, and you never meet them, you never really meet them, but you'll meet me. And I did this because I want to facilitate the local market. When you talk about a lender, it could be a lender from, they're licensed in Nevada, but they could be in Colorado.
mm-hmm.
They're getting that deal done. That's one of many, many they
Yeah,
do.
there's a lot of online lenders nowadays.
Oh, yeah. And they might be down the street, but I might live in your community and I might take pride and I want that value to go up. And I'm trying to facilitate this. And we're almost very close and equal working together in that moment when it pertains to, I have a document that's called a contract that if I do not get these documents to my seller or from the seller to the buyer, and I am dealing with the seller, I have no obligation to the buyer, but my obligation to the seller is my obligation to the transaction.
Right.
And that's my fiduciary responsibility. There is really no fiduciary responsibility from the lender's point of view. If you think about it, they're doing everything for, well, getting paid, but their buyer is getting all the services from their lender. As a matter of fact, the seller cannot call the lender and get information about the buyer.
Right.
They won't give it. As well as the management company should not give any information to anyone other than the seller or the seller giving up their fee simple right to sell the property. You need to probably treat us more like we have the right to get this for our seller. When you give it to us, when we did the papers, we signed as the agent, but they gladly gave it to us because they were giving it to the seller.
Right.
The law was fulfilled when they gave it to us because they gave it to the seller.
And
That's
we
what all. Seller, and we had to have it signed too. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
The laws in all the states, I'm pretty up on the laws in all the states, and all the laws in the states are saying that the seller must provide to the buyer this information.
Seller must provide because they can only be regulated through the seller.
And the management company has a relationship with who? The seller, who is a member of that association. They do not have a relationship with the buyer, who's not a member.
More than a relationship with the seller. It is a fiduciary responsibility to represent all owners that are making up the ownership of the community.
Right.
It's theirs. In a sense, the management company kind of works for the association.
They just help facilitate that.
But they work for the association, just like I work for my seller. And I think we're very much, we work very much in sync. How many management companies call their agents their agents? How many management companies go, my agent, so this agent sold more than one or two this year. They know their agents. They don't know the lender and they don't even have an obligation. Where I'm going with this is you hear the argument of, well, that buyer will be now an owner. That buyer will now be an owner. So I'm facilitating that new owner. Yes, that starts when they are an owner. In my
Correct.
opinion, when I get the listing, that's when I have that fee simple ownership. That's why there's laws in place that cannot let me sell that property without a
Right.
listing.
And so that buyer is not an owner until the deed transfers.
Oh, even
So,
there's delay. I
so
signed my papers. Here's how I'd won. It hasn't been recorded.
yeah, so the
Right.
management company has absolutely zero obligation to the lender or the buyer until that deed closes and now they're the owner.
And the
And
welcome letter goes out.
it's some people may even argue that a management company or an HOA, a management company representing an HOA, should never complete any lender questionnaire for anyone other than the seller who is their current member. So basically, the buyer would have to go to the seller and say, hey, I need this form filled out. Then they take it to the management company, who takes it to the board, who takes it to the attorney. They all fill it out. They all agree that it's right. And they give it back to the seller, the current owner, who then gives it, because they can give it away, but no one else in that chain can
Who
give that
then
to someone
has
outside.
liability if that is the design, then the seller is liable for those answers. In my eyes, if they request to the seller and they don't request to the attorney or all these other people that are going to fill out that form, which this seems like a very not a good process. Anyway,
You know what? It's a
and the
very
liability then is on the seller. Is my point.
Unfortunately, Joe, this is one of those things that to do it right, it's a very cumbersome
Because
process.
attorneys won't do this form. If you involve the attorney, in my opinion, I feel they will go no. No, if you made your attorney fill it out, if you said, attorney, I'll pay you whatever, you fill it out, they would fill out one, they fill out no more. I think they would have a real problem, and I would require them to sign it with you.
Yeah.
I think they'd have a real problem
Well,
doing that.
and you know what? Based on the questions there are some things in there that are legal advice. There are some things in there that are insurance advice. There are some things in there that are accounting that are going to come just directly from the management company from an accounting standpoint. So there's really, in order to do it right, you need to have several people need to touch it to do it right.
To do it right, yes. So
But what's
then that
happening is,
implies
yeah, what's happening is the management company is having their employee fill it out and answer legal advice, answer insurance advice, answer accounting.
on any other topic, they would not allow it. The owner,
Absolutely.
they would almost insist, no, that's
Right.
not what you do. Get it to me.
Right. But here they go, oh, it's part of the escrow. It's part of the escrow. Just do it. Just get it done.
Oh, and we're making all this money because the third party's enabling it.
Yep.
And their slant is from the lender. So they're doing it. Are they doing it for you? It is an opportunity to make money, and I don't think they're doing it because they understand the liability and they're doing it for the liability position. I don't think they're doing that. But I think the ultimate, the why behind that comes down to, well, why does the lender even insist on it when there's nothing governing it?
Right.
That the ultimate why. And then why wouldn't a lender mindset go, no, we got to do it. We got to do it. We got to do it, because they're a lender mindset. Not that they are in cahoots with that. I don't think that's happening. But I do believe that's an opportunity of a form that we can add to our inventory. Oh, okay, well, there's a little more labor intensive. So let us set up a battery of 25 people that will fill these out for our clients. Not only do they remove it, does the owner remove the liability? They don't remove liability, produce liability by even having their people do it. I think they make even more liability by having a third party that really is just a document distribution company.
Right.
Online, document distribution and collecting your money and accounting for it and timestamps. To me, that's the important role that we do, not necessarily. And we want to create profit centers and real helpful tools for our clients that actually have a dual thing. They help you save money and time, but then you can also maybe charge this entity that's causing you to do this in the first place. And there's not many opportunities like this. So when one comes up, you want to do it. I want to do that for my client. But as you think it through, and I also want to do no harm. We're not doctors, but I want to do no harm. And I think the more we look at it, because how many times have we, a couple times, I remember, stopping trying to facilitate this. And we still do in a way in our site.
So you're talking about the custom lender
we tried
forms?
To make the forms.
Yeah. So we did that. We started it, and what we found that it's impossible to do this unless you create 1,000 questions. And can I give you an example of what I'm talking about?
Well, let's not get too complicated for
Not
the
not
end user
complicated at all.
watching.
I have an example ready to go right here.
Yeah.
Very simple. This should be an easy question. Is there any litigation? Simple question, right?
As,
It's
as a can of worms.
it's the can of worms. It's presented in three different ways. One form says, "Is the HOA involved in any pending litigation? Yes or no?" Another one says, "Is it involved in any current litigation? Yes or no?" And then additionally, "Is it involved in any pending litigation? Yes or no?" And then this is one which is from the HUD 9991, which is one of the forms that we say, is one of the best forms to use. Their question is the condominium project or condominium association subject, keyword, subject to any pending litigation? If yes, provide a signed and dated document or a dated explanation. So here's the question. What does it mean to say subject to any? I think the answer to is it subject to any? The answer is yes. Why? Because almost every condominium I know in California, gosh, back when talking about my insurance days, with the construction defect, right?
Oh,
96% of the multifamily housing in California was involved in construction defect. So the question is it subject to any pending litigation? I would say the answer is yes, because every multifamily is
well,
subject to
I don't
litigation.
know. When I get my crystal ball out, I can answer a lot
Yeah,
of these questions. When
yeah,
I when I go into Zen sleep, whatever. I mean,
right,
you cannot possibly be legally obligated to predict the future.
right,
But why would that question be there? It almost makes no sense. Like
right. So
they are so crazy adding questions, and I think this comes back to why
right.
we never went forward to make these documents.
So how do we automate that?
Well, there's ways to do it, but let's not go
You
that
know what?
deep.
But imagine the detail that it takes to automate that. It's
I don't
actually
think I
you have to make 4 different questions. It's crazy.
don't even think that's a good question. The real question that the owner should be thinking, not how do you do that? How do you make it
No,
possible? It's more, why are the lenders wanting me to do this? And no law or entity has any power against me. The liability isn't that if I don't do it, I'm in trouble. The liability is if I do this, what am I exposing myself to?
right.
What am I exposing? And that's what we're talking about. The what if is way bigger than the money, because I think you with an insurance background even further dissects into this problem.
Yeah,
It's actually affected our conversations about this over the years to where we are almost steadfast. We don't want to do it. I don't want anything to facilitate it. And we may
yeah,
lose business because our people that won't use us want to make this money because they need to, for whatever reason. They're looking past that advice to liability, and we can't make them use us. But it's a philosophy, and we know we're not going to get every piece of business, and we're fine with that because we are on purpose a specific style of company that is very, in our opinion, very agile, very motivated to really service and serve your needs, in the fact that we run alongside of you and we're agile, we're able to. We're not a big clunky company, and when you call, you're just a number, and you get frustrated. And that question you had, you never really answer because you had to go to something else. We don't take your time for granted that way, and it's inherent in their how they operate. They can operate no other way. They might try to change. They might try to put in the white glove, whatever. Okay, we're not even white glove. We aren't white glove. We are what we are. We do it the way it needs to be done, and we have standards. And I can't call it white glove. We try to call it what it is, kind of from a small perspective, a boutique, which does the same thing as the big guys, except you're not going to feel ever, however big we get, you're never going to feel that we're taking you for granted or bigger than we can handle our customers. Because at some point, you want to make as much money as you can. You cut corners. We're not cutting corners.
right.
We're not cutting corners. So that philosophy, that value, translates right into these kind of questionnaires. Why would we, with that idea, with that way of doing business, how we go out into the world of business, how can we put our clients even vaguely in that position? I can't. Being a broker for 8, 10 years in town, really wanting to get out of that business because there's so many reasons to get out of that business. It's the reasons why you're called broker, because you're broke. And you can make money and facilitate and do something, and then this comes out of that. And then we find other people are in the business. It's validating that we're doing the right thing. We ain't gonna stop that. 23 years of developing this site, it will never stop being better every day. And so I don't want to just make our clients money. I want to help them in many other ways. And I think keeping their butts out of manager jail is pretty good, is what I think. And
Yeah.
many people go, I'll take the chance. Then, okay, maybe we don't align with our business philosophies. When something changes that, remember, we're going to be here, and we're not going to hold that against you. People change, things happen.
Right.
You learn that, you know what? I got sued. I don't want to deal with them anymore. Okay. Or maybe you don't get sued and you made all that money. Great. Stay where you are. It's a liability. It's a business decision when it comes down to it. And there are risks in everything we do in business, don't you think?
Absolutely.
You're not going to cut yourself or hurt, right? But you might lose a bunch of money. You might lose some clients.
Yeah.
We don't like that. We want it to be real and do the job we got to do. There's no fluff in this. It is what it is.
Well, look, we're a business of integrity, and I think that's basically what you're saying right here is that the integrity that we want to instill across the board is that we're partnered with our management company partners. We consider them a partner, not just a commodity. We're not a vendor. So the integrity is that we want to help them to do the right thing and to keep them, like you said, out of manager company jail. Uh,
Their
yeah,
buttocks is out of that.
absolutely.
My feeling is, and it's almost a partnership without an agreement. I mean, we don't take contracts, right? We really literally don't. You could stop using us. It's an elected partnership on success every day. Daily success makes you go, I'm going to stick around for another day. Hey, wait, we made a mistake. Hey, they came through. They took care of it quick. I'm going to stay for another week. Hey, the money they said I'm going to make, I'm making. Hey, they work with my team really well. I'm going to stay for another month. It's all elected. You elect to stay. You elect to stay. If we drop the ball, you elect to forgive. If we're not doing our job or you feel neglected, you need to elect to move on. And so if you're getting that type of service, or if you're doing it in-house and I got it handled, but I want to find out something else, we can't make you do it, right? I already said that. And you're electing to do it in-house. Every day you go, I got it handled. I'm doing it in-house. I got it handled. I'm making money. But when you take a moment to look at you're working on your business, you want to do things a bit more efficient. I think you just do. I think you want to do things a little easier. That's efficient. You want to make a little more money through efficiency. And so if it takes outsourcing, and outsourcing is a weird word. It says outsource. That's where the partnership pulls it. No, it's a partnership. So it's communication. It's our customer service. I'm getting off the subject of customer service, but it's twofold. It's our clients and it's their clients. It's the business that's made the customer service by just buying a package, right? But that customer service we have with our clients is what I'm talking about. It is the partnership and the cash flow. We get our cut. We do our business. We do it right. You are glad to let us have our piece. It's what you say every day when you elect to stay with us. That's the contract. That's trust, loyalty. There's a time where they took a contract. Our competitors may still insist you sign. When you sign, they feel I control you. You do it our way. When you go, hey, could the site do something? And they go, yeah, sure. And it's never done, but they control you and you elect to let that happen. It's ultimately you're electing to let that happen. And path of least resistance and day to day, and I'm making money, that keeps you from making any drastic moves. So I think when you look at this as a clear cut, you can go back to that. You can go right back to what you were doing. It ain't going to cost you a dime. And if it does, I'll pay you as part of the deal to come on board. If you can prove to me it cost me $1,000 to move over to you, I'll write you a check for $1,000 if you're going to go back. But I know you're not going to go back. You ain't going back. You're not going back. And if you do it in-house, you're going to go, what a great business owner I am. I thought I was doing it right. When I checked it out, now I think differently. I'm a great business owner. I was a great business owner when I was doing it in-house, and now I'm a great business owner because I picked GetDocs now. And you are. And guess what? Tomorrow, after a year of using it, that day, 1 year and 1 day, I don't want to do it with GetDocs now anymore. I know how to do it in-house. You're in-house. Why? I don't know why you do that. I don't know why you do that. Because once you use us, you're not going to go back. And we're selective. We're not going after everybody. We're not going after everybody. If we wanted everybody, we would go after everybody. I think the other guy wants everybody. They're mad when we get one. They're mad when we get one. They come after ours. They don't go. They don't leave. Why? Why would that be? Let's ask the right why. The right why isn't, the right why is, why are they making us sign these documents? The right why is the liability. And we've already answered that. We don't want to do it. If we could keep you from doing it, that's our customer service and our partnership advice as a partner. Like if you had a true partner in your business, that would be the truest, closest to that. Because we have an in. Our in is we want to do this right. We want to make your lives easier. And we want to make some money. And there's enough money in this for everybody. And if it's going to tech, and we've done it already, why reinvent the wheel? You do not have to reinvent the wheel. And we love conversations about your business model. So talking about condo questionnaires and the lender questionnaires is right up our alley with no pressure. No pressure to sign up. We can't make you. Your curiosity after that conversation will drive whatever we do. And on that note, I'm done.
Well, I think we've said quite a bit to cover the lender questionnaires. It's very obvious how we feel about it. Don't do it. If you don't take our word for it. Talk to your attorneys about it. If you want to have a conversation with us, we'd love to have a conversation with anyone about this. No obligation. Well, they say no obligation conversation, right? Get your thoughts. I mean,
And it guaranteed if you
love it.
lose money, if you can show you're losing money, I'll write that check to you. That'll be part of the deal. But I'll tell you right now, you're not going to lose money. You're not going to want to go anywhere. So it's not a problem to even say it. On
All
that
right.
note, cool.
Cool.